MrBeast's new gaming video has been surrounded by controversy, mainly from the people who were involved in it. And while I'm a bit late to the situation, and I wasn't actually in the video, I feel like I have something to say here. So it all starts with this video from MrBeast Gaming titled 1,000 Players Simulate Civilization, Boys vs. Girls. This is based on H13C's channel. He has multiple videos like this, whether it be 1,000 players simulate civilization rich and poor, or 1,000 players build massive civilization in Minecraft, and has gotten a lot of views and high regard because of it. And because Ish and Beast have worked together multiple times in the past, and Ish has even won some of his previous gaming videos, it was an obvious idea for MrBeast Gaming to make their own spin off it. And it goes to this tweet that is now deleted, but we have an archive of it. And it says, "We went all out on the new gaming video." But as you can see, there was a community note left on the tweet saying, "Context needed. Multiple of the girls in this video have come forward stating the boys cheating, doing things like bribing women with DoorDash to invade their side, and that MrBeast didn't restart or properly acknowledge the situation in the video." So let's get into that. It starts with this tweet from Zavi Gamer saying, "I was in this event. Please keep in mind we only had like 3 to 6 hours of server time each day." And she goes on to list several reasons as to why this video apparently did not portray the women properly whatsoever. One of the biggest claims is that there were Russian guys using AI to cheat their way onto the girls' side and sabotage. They also apparently left really rude messages and even swastikas, which is just gross, obviously. This should not be happening. Because there was a lot of guys pretending to be girls, this led to a bunch of suspicion amongst some of the trans women that were there, stating a lot of girls began reporting / targeting our trans girlies as infiltrators just because of the pitches of their voice. And it started this huge fight on the girls' side about transphobia and such. There was also another claim that the actual women that were involved did not know how to play Minecraft, or at least the majority of them didn't. Zavi stating, "The girls had people who didn't even know how to make a crafting table on theirs, much less how to make a sword." So this is how things started. However, since that post, a lot more women involved came out with their own stories. This is another woman, Makio. She was part of the event. She was a news reporter. She actually helped investigate the guys that were pretending to be girls. Another claim that she made was that the staff were allowing bribing, which meant a lot of bribing with real cash from the guys' sides. This, of course, includes the DoorDash. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got another claim here from Mercy, saying, "As someone who was in this event, it was so poorly planned. Everything said above is correct. The story told obviously didn't mention any of this going on. Heck, some of the story was wrong anyways. Wrong leaders on girls' side, timing all wrong as I died, and things that happened on day 5 were actually in day 2 to 3. About 5% of the girls' team knew how to PvP, about 60% knew some basics, mainly building, and the rest didn't know how to make a sword." Then we have another from Cozy Goober saying, "I was part of the event too and met the Russian boys head on. Curious about their early diamond armor, as everyone else at the time didn't even have full set diamond armor and tools. I approached them being friendly, asking how they did it, only for them to tell me to suck their dick. They followed me to my group and placed swastikas and offensive signs around my group space." Here's another claim. This event was really toxic on the girls' side, that people were sending death threats in Discord or straight up being toxic to people because they interacted with a boy. She also released another tweet showcasing a video.
Yeah,
I
look at
love
them go.
Steam. This is great.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to say hello. Oh my god, you guys look so amazing.
Shut up. Ебало завали нахуй. Шлюха ебаная. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm collecting
Fuck
materials right now.
Fuck you. Suck my dick.
I don't like saying inappropriate things.
And then another image of the swastika that was placed. So as you can see, there's video proof of these Russians getting in. A lot of people brought up these Russian hackers. Apparently it was a big issue in the video. Here's another testimony from Foifi. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. There were quite a few problems. The whole event was poorly organized and riddled with tech issues. On the first day, almost everyone died of starvation because crops weren't growing and mobs weren't spawning. Boys were bribing girls to kill members of their own team in exchange for DoorDash. We were assured that anyone who broke the rules would be banned, but staff kept randomly reviving problematic people, and of course those people ended up getting the most screen time. I guess MrBeast's team were rooting for certain people since they had good lore, so there was definitely favoritism going on, and the storyline got quite manipulated in the end. That's a pretty bold claim. I guess I'm just disappointed because the final cut wasn't a good depiction of what actually happened during the event. So many cute, funny moments could have been included for depth and layers, but it only focused on one plot based around a handful of players. For an hour-long video, it felt contrived and predictable. If it was just regular viewers saying this and criticizing the video because they didn't think it was done right, that'd be one thing. But when the women that were in the video are all coming out one by one and criticizing how their side was portrayed, that doesn't look very good. And we're not even close to done, by the way. Here's another testimony from Britt saying they also cut out a boy killing girls with a sword named Good Girl in the final battle and didn't get banned for it. GG. Another testimony from Not Divine. Personally, I met a lot of cool people and had fun in the event. However, there were many bad experiences, mainly due to how the staff handled things, especially during day 0. I'm glad to be in the video with some screen time, but I hope they do better next time. Here's another one from Shikai, saying, was part of it, I was super excited, but the moment they couldn't find 500 streamer girls, they started to let any girl join to fill in the spot, so around 30% of the girl players weren't girls, but boys pretending to be girls with AI to set traps and sabotage the girls' team. Event was so badly organized and hosted. I stopped playing on day 4 because the joy and fun was completely gone. Besides the sudden schedule changes and the poor management, can't recommend joining such a mess again. Here's another one. Just Anzia says, I was in the MrBeast Civ event. The MrBeast Civ event was, let's be real, extremely chaotic. Civ event? More like a fucking mess, but a lovely mess nonetheless. Glad to make it out of the event alive with lots of new friends. Here's another one. It was so shit. I played every single of the 7 days in VC with my partner, and I was constantly telling them how much that event sucked and I just wanted it to end. Of course, the boys' side was much better given the occurrences on the girls' side. She also brings up another claim that's come up a couple times so far, saying, the thing that most annoyed me, however, was the constant schedule changing. It was said that we would play for like 3 to 4 hours a day, but most of the sessions were 7 to 8 hours long, not even including the fact that we didn't even have the time for the final day to start until it was the final day, because MrBeast was recording another something. For me, it just shows how little he cares about creating stories. He's just surfing on the hype. Another one. Bagel says, had a lot of fun on this, minus all the Russian boys infiltrating the girls' side, swastikas and hate symbols all over the server, which, by the way, we had to provide proof to get them removed, girls selling their account to boys to use, boys paying off girls to kill other girls for free DoorDash, the complete lack of explanation for what really happened on the girls' side, the fact that none of the girls' lore was in the video, the Shadow Society being left out of the video, even though we were the cause of most of the chaos on the girls' side involving UGF, no reporting system till we all mass pinged staff, whole factions being killed off wasn't relevant to lore apparently either. Oh, and the staff allowing bribery. So no, the girls' side didn't just randomly fall apart for some reason. There was just clearly a lack of caring, passion, or whatever from one specific party on this video. Maybe they will host better events in the future, who knows. Here we have a video from someone who's there, Utaba, which says, here's my point of view when I died, in which I feel like MrBeast might have been a bit biased towards the boys to try and help them win, with MrBeast leaking our location when we made an escape.
So close. No.
Expanding.
Hold up.
They'll never get us. They'll never get us.
Make the bridge. We're gonna siege them. We're gonna siege them. We know the way.
Where is it?
Well, it's up. Let's go.
Go.
Go! Half a heart. Half a freaking heart. Half a heart.
I'm running obsidian at any time.
Oh, they placed on me. Oh, no.
No one?
I think you can tell from the amount of testimonies alone that something went really wrong in this event. And that while we can't put the entire blame on MrBeast or his team, we can definitely blame them for how they portrayed things and what they decided to leave out, especially with so many different claims that he got certain details wrong, or decided to not include certain things whatsoever. If you've seen Ish's videos and know about them enough, you probably know that he also does this. He has cut things out of his videos before, but it seems like it's on a much smaller scale than this. We're almost done with the testimonies. I have 2 more to show, and if you didn't believe the women at first, even after the massive amount of them, you may believe it from 2 of the people that were very heavily involved. Here's Lego Friend, who was one of the leading members of the UGF, which was a big faction in the video, saying, "Unfortunately, so much of the girls' side is being misportrayed. Not just me. All the girls in the watch party are going insane." Going as far as to say, they cut out like a lot of context and content and things the girls' side did. So it's pretty obvious that aside from the invasions and the schedule changes and the general issues, there's also this big, overwhelming issue of MrBeast not editing the video in a way that properly shows what actually happened surrounding the girls' side. Using Ish's rich versus poor video as an example, like I said, there were things that were cut out. Apparently the faction Infernus, who was said to be led by Seneca, actually had an entire king that was pretty much completely cut from the video. But especially when you learn the context of why they did that, pretty much being that the king was supposed to be this secret puppet behind the scenes and then had to leave halfway through the shoot, so they decided to just cut him out to spare the explanation. It's obvious that that's on a way smaller scale than what these women are explaining here, especially since these women were on these videos. Which leads us to our final testimony for now from Coraline, who not only was a leading member in this MrBeast video, but was also a leading member for a while in Ish's Rich vs. Poor video. And she says, "I must sadly confirm the validity of this post. It pains me to meddle in controversy. However, with the amount of sexist hate there has been, I can no longer stay silent. People simply assume it was female incompetence, but the odds were stacked insurmountably against us." So that's a lot. Now, as for all this public discussion, you may be wondering what any of the boys had to say about this. And while we've got no testimony from the Russian hackers or practically any guy that was involved in this event, we do have one. And when you dig a bit deeper, it doesn't look the best. And before I go on, I just want to comment quickly and say, please do not send harassment to anybody. I know how the internet is, and when people see someone that has what they believe to be a morally wrong opinion, they just dogpile onto him. They just dogpile onto them. So I just want to be clear here, whether it's to the girls, to MrBeast and his team, or to the guy we are about to talk about, please do not send harassment, especially not on my behalf. I do not condone it. With that out of the way, this is a tweet from Quacko stating, "As a winner from the guy's side, I want to defend MrBeast and his team, as most of what this girl said," relating to Xavi, "is coming out of jealousy from not winning." Coming right out of the gate with a strong accusation. And they have 7 points here, stating, "Most of the girls who got killed before the wall drop were killed by a member Foxley. The staff were very helpful in reviving people who died in unfair ways. There was an active reporting system since it started, and I know this because a few of my friends and allies who died by lag or other unfair ways on day 1 were able to report it and get revived. The time the wall drop got delayed by a few hours because girls kept complaining they had no time to prepare. Everyone on the server had more than enough time to prepare, and you should have been preparing since day 1. He also responds to Xavi's claim that this was advertised as a Civ event and felt more like a PvP event, stating, "This is wrong. Since the start, it was marketed as Welcome to 1,000-player civilization, which obviously means it's a PvP event. It is a MrBeast video and not an Ish Civ event, so it isn't going to follow the average role-playing dynamic of a Civ event." Really quick, I just want to say that claim in particular really gets my gears going because, as he says, it was marketed as Welcome to 1,000 players civilization, boys versus girls. So I don't think it's fair to expect the women to not. So I don't think it's fair to expect anyone to not believe that this is a civilization event. I get that it's boys versus girls, and you gotta take the verses into account, but it's definitely still a Civ event, whether you want to put this PvP label on it or not. And I think it's just a nothing burger of an argument. Now, before we move on from this tweet and talk about what one woman had to say about this, I want to point out one more point that he made, and it's point number 5. Not going to speak on this topic too much, but yeah, like 30% of the girls' side weren't biologically female, and that definitely served a part in not keeping the girls united. As a trans ally, that really kind of stuck with me, especially the use of the word biologically, and we're going to get back to that very soon. But first, it should be noted that another woman who was involved in this video made a full response to Quacko's tweet. They say you have got to stop speaking on things you don't know enough about, and they go after every single point. And Quacko says most of the girls who got killed before the wall drop were killed by Foxley. Mel responds saying that Foxley died early on but got revived because she was killed by Huskell, apparently a guy who was pretending to be a girl. So no, Foxley only got a handful of kills. Quacko says most of the issues got resolved in the first day or two. Mel responded saying, also not true, some of the rushes were still getting banned on day 5 and 6. Don't remember the exact day, but I was there arguing with staff. Quacko talked about the active reporting system. Mel shed info saying this reporting system was a public threads channel. Do I need to repeat? Public. I don't remember when it was created, so I don't know if you're right or wrong, but I know I was terrified. I reported one of the Russians and was talking about how scared I was of retaliation, to which staff then started joking around. A new claim that is absurd if true, that should have never been happening. And then in response to Quacko's point that it wasn't advertised as a civ event, he says it was definitely marketed as a civ event. They only started backtracking once everyone was already in and the event was about to start. But even then, they never fully backtracked. They would basically just say, the rules might be a bit different, but never said it wasn't a civ event, just not a traditional civ event. Now, Quacko didn't respond to this tweet at all. But as I said earlier, I specifically had an issue with Quacko's wording stating biologically. It made me feel like he was stating that trans women weren't biologically women, which is just extremely transphobic. So I called this out, stating, am I reading this wrong, or is this a dig at trans women? Because the use of the word biologically makes me think you're not just talking about men impersonating women, but actual trans women, when there's definitely a big difference. Someone replied, saying he isn't talking about men secretly pretending to be women, he's talking about the actual transgender players, and he's saying a portion of the biological women weren't looking to team up with the transgender women because they were trans, leading to a big rift. Quacko said exactly this. That's interesting considering several of the girls said they never had issue with trans women, only the Russian hackers or the men sneaking into their site to sabotage. Are you sure they weren't against trans women? He responded, no one there would openly admit they were, but obviously it caused division. Now, even after this, a lot of the women had claimed that they had no issues with trans women whatsoever. But after going back and forth with Quacko and others through Twitter replies, I had a bit of a thought. Some people were straight up calling Quacko transphobic. Quacko wasn't really clarifying whether they actually were transphobic or not, which was alarming. So I did a bit of a deep dive, and I found some really bad tweets. WTF, bro, that is such a fucked up thing to say. Nazis are nowhere close as bad as transgender. When you're ready for facts, the fact is that you are a man. You say he called the mentally ill man slurs but won't provide any. You do exist. You just aren't transgender. You are a mentally ill man who wants to take over women's spaces. Now, these are just some of the tweets that I found. There are more, but I don't even know if I have to show them because those 3 in particular are so awfully transphobic that I think it just shows everything that needs to be said. And again, I don't want Quacko to go through any harassment over this. He's just some random guy. But at the same time, why are you commenting on trans issues when you are literally transphobic yourself? Now, the tweets I found were older, from like 2024, 2023. They're not that old, but old enough where I wanted to ask Quacko if his stance had changed since then. And he blocked me instead of responding. So it definitely doesn't look good on Quacko's end. And just to be clear, by the way, just to defend myself here, Quacko then used the fact that these were older tweets to try and make himself look better. Here's a tweet from February 2025. The number of trans NCAA athletes is literally 40 people, saying if there were only 40 pedophiles, I would still want to get rid of them all. And that's not a screenshot, that is a real tweet that I just found. So really, this isn't an issue of me bringing up old tweets. This is an issue of Quacko being transphobic and then trying to hide that fact. I also brought this up to Mel under her tweet, which she responded with a new claim stating, wait, this reminds me of the guy who put female slayer on his sword and it showed in a bunch of death messages. Disgusting misogyny. And again, to my knowledge, this is the only guy to have come out in defense of their side or in defense of MrBeast, which really isn't a good look for MrBeast in particular. And I'll leave this section off by repeating Mel's final message in this big post that she made, saying, the team seems like they didn't intend for any of this to happen and want to do better, but nothing will improve if we deny what actually happened. So, if you're not convinced by now, that this event was run extremely poorly, then I don't know what to tell you. But there is one defense that has been prevalent throughout this entire thing that I just want to nip in the butt before we leave this off. And it leads us to one actual final testimony from someone named Abby Coops. She was actually on the girl's side and says that there's a lot being said that doesn't fully reflect what actually happened. Now, it should be clear that Abby doesn't really go after most of the main points like Quacko did, apart from claiming that the Discord did have channels for assistance and that if you needed help, that an admin would be there within minutes. But there's one defense in particular that I've seen a few people bring up, Quacko included, that I don't think checks out. Something that Abby says in her tweet that correlates to the Russian hackers is that you cannot realistically expect admins to IG check 1,000 players for a free event that's meant to be fun. That expectation is completely unrealistic. Quacko said practically the same thing. Here's another tweet from popular user Juniper that actually also alludes to that, saying, "It's hard to vet 1,000 people for an event." Now, I'm not going to read or co-sign that second part, but this is a good point that I also believed in at first. But there's something that we all have to remember here. And it's that MrBeast used this video idea from Ish. And the thing is, he does vet 1,000 people. Here's a clip from Ludwig's reaction to Ish's rich versus poor video, where he actually messaged Ish.
I've gotten like 5 donations from people who are all like, I worked on this video. How many fucking people worked on this video? Actually, wait. I think Ish might have messaged me this last night. I'm forgetting. I said, how big's the team? The video scope is massive. He said lots of different teams, actually. Editing team is about 5 to 7. Event staff is about 30. Map making team is 15. And our applications team, which is just people who comb through thousands of applications for people to participate, is a team of 30.
So there you go. If Ish, a creator that is not even close to as large as MrBeast, was able to make a team that vets 1,000 people, then the biggest creator of all time should be able to do the same. Now, I did reach out to Ish. I wanted to ask him if any of his team worked on the MrBeast video, but Ish didn't respond. In that same regard, I also reached out to Hoodie, who was apparently the director of this video and was mentioned by some of the girls before. Wanted to get his thoughts on things, but he also did not respond. But at the end of the day, I think my biggest point in regards to all of this is that this shoot was a mess and probably shouldn't have happened in the first place. I mean, I watch MrBeast gaming videos every once in a while, and I think they thrive the best when they're making their own idea. But I think just kind of taking what made Ish so popular and beloved and spinning it off in this boys versus girls setting, which kind of automatically feeds into this bubble of misogyny that formed around the whole shoot, I think that was a mistake. And I think that while I have heard that the Beast team reached out to some of these women privately to clear things up and to tell them how apologetic they were and that they were going to make things better, I feel like MrBeast should publicly take accountability, especially given the fact that Xavier's original tweet has almost 200,000 likes. So I guess that's the big question. Has MrBeast responded to any of this? Well, technically, if you count him deleting his original tweet, the same tweet that all the women were quote retweeting, telling their stories, if you count that as a response, then yes, he did respond. But if you're looking for anything other than that, then no. And I just want to jump to this before anyone says it. Yes, MrBeast obviously saw these tweets. Again, Xavi's post alone had almost 200K, and that doesn't include all of the other testimonies from women that had thousands, if not tens of thousands of likes. And hey, if MrBeast can respond to a tweet where, as I found it, had 50 likes, that was speaking positively about his new Beast game season, then he obviously could have responded to any of these tweets and given his own statement of things. And by the way, it's ironic that he responded to a tweet talking positive about Beast games and not about these massive amounts of negative tweets, considering the fact that Beast Games Season 1 not only had a bunch of issues like this, but on a much larger scale. You'd think that after doing something like that, especially doing something on a smaller scale where less harm could be done, you'd think they'd make sure that everything is going well and that they accurately portray things. But no. And hey, if we're making comparisons, I mean, there were a lot of claims from Beast Game Season 1 that Jimmy has still not responded to and probably never will. So let me take a moment to answer what might be the biggest question that comes from this video. Why does any of this matter? It's just some Minecraft shoot that went wrong. Nobody was harmed like in Beast games. So why is it an issue? And I think it's an issue because, as I stated before, MrBeast is not just a creator. He's not just some Minecraft creator that's trying to jump on the latest trend. He is the biggest creator of all time. By far. He is debatably the biggest name in modern history. So what he says and what he does matters. When people see a shoot that was botched like this, of course there's going to be a lot of people that side with the women, but then there's going to be a select people that go to the video and go, wait, 23 million views? Oh my god. Who cares about whether or not things went well or if what I'm watching was true or not? If the biggest creator can make a video so poorly made, why can't I? You see what I mean? And obviously I don't think the majority of people are going to think like this, but it's the precedent. Because I think my biggest issue isn't just the fact that the shoot went so poorly, but I think it's also because of the response to it. The fact that MrBeast did not include these things in his original video and refused to talk about it at all after. Because even if he privately reached out to people, this was a big public situation regarding a video that he and his company made. And given how poorly it went, I believe that there definitely should be some public response, even if that's in the description or comments of that video. And the closest thing to that is how he says in the description, we accepted the first 500 boys and 500 girls who joined in chronological order on the Minecraft server when it went live. If a player broke the rules they agreed to in any way or lied on their application about any information to try and sabotage other players, they were banned by the staff for monitoring 24/7 after an investigation. Their actions were reversed, and the players they killed were revived, and they were replaced with the next boy or girl in line who had tried to join the server earlier in chronological order. Which also not only confirms what some of these girls were saying, but also confirms that there really was no vetting process here. They just opened the floodgates to the first 1,000 people that joined. And all I'm saying is if Ish can do it, why can't he? Why can't his team? If Ish can afford to have 30 people on an applications team, then there's no way that the biggest creator of all time can't. And hell, maybe it was a bad idea in the first place to make this entire video surrounding boys versus girls. Because like I said, that kind of feeds into the misogyny that happened. That provably happened. And the fact that he's not willing to come out and address these claims, especially claims like Mel's that the staff were joking around about these serious situations, then honestly, it makes me trust these videos a lot less. Now look, I went from like a massive MrBeast fan to a MrBeast investigator to now me being the MrBeast critic guy, I guess. But this type of thing is super important to me because if we're not holding the biggest creator ever accountable for his actions, then what are we even doing? Things don't have to be perfect. You can't change the past, but you can change how you act in the present and future. And all I'm seeing here is a lack of accountability and an unwillingness to address these issues publicly because he knows that it looks bad. He knows it feeds into this claim that he fakes or over-exaggerates videos. And he knows that at the end of the day, it's bad press. And that's kind of been the new strategy for MrBeast, where when a big controversy like this presents itself, instead of responding to it, he just kind of ignores it and lets it simmer down. Just like how this has simmered down. And in my opinion, that's not right. So I'm going to leave this video off with two things. First of all, technically, this story is not done. Editor Angel here, so I have a little update that I need to throw in here. Originally, I was going to talk about Steven Asarch in this part, who is a digital culture journalist who has worked with the likes of Rolling Stone, Complex, Newsweek. He made a tweet stating that if anyone involved in this project had anything to say about it, his DMs were open and he wanted to talk to them for a story. Now, originally, I was going to bring this up in the video, and I was going to direct anyone who was involved in this video to reach out to Steven for his story. However, as of literally the day I'm editing this, Steven actually went on the YouTuber Quintheo's channel because he couldn't get an outlet to pick up his story, and he told everything. So instead of telling you to reach out to him, I'm actually going to link the VOD for this live stream, and I'll also link a main channel video by Quintheo if and when he does make that. Steven did a lot of great digging and was more thorough than I could have possibly been. So if this story interests you, go check it out. It's great. Anyways, and the last thing I want to point out is MrBeast's original tweet, the one that he deleted. Because there's been a lot of speculation and she said stories that have gone around. But if there's one thing that we know is wrong, it is his original tweet. He said, "We went all out on the new gaming video." And that just simply is not the case. Not only did he not go all out on this video, but it all imploded inward. And MrBeast and his team need to reflect on that. That's it.